I think we're all overlooking James White, too. What a Super Bowl that was.
Yeah,
Errol and I both said he should have been MVP. I remember that.
yeah, no, he had a hell of a game.
He was the most consistent player that whole
Yeah,
game.
3 touchdowns in that game.
13
Or
catches.
LeGarrette Blount. You don't smoke the Blount. The Blount smokes you.
Yes,
That's
except
true.
he got stripped in the Super Bowl, so that didn't exactly help. But then James White emerged, so. LeGarrette Blount did play well in the playoffs for the rest of his time, though, so that was,
Brian
I think, really
Westbrook.
the only dud. Yeah, Brian Westbrook, too, definitely was in that mix. Probably in that same stretch, too, the 2000, because he also,
You know, I'm not even going to say this. Dallas had somebody before Zeke that probably should have been in this conversation.
I don't know, in the 2000s.
After Emmitt Smith? Yeah.
It was mainly
Murray?
It was Marion Barber. but,
Murray?
No,
DeMarco Murray
it
wasn't
wasn't
long
DeMarco
enough.
Murray.
Marion Barber wasn't.
DeMarco Murray was
Felix
pretty good
Jones.
for
He
3
was.
years.
He was great at the start of his career, but the injuries caught up with him eventually. And I don't know if he ever had that same kind of stretch. And then he had the one great year with the Titans too when he first got there, but then kind of died out. Like I think he could have been there
What
without
about
the injuries.
elite running back Ron Dane?
No, stop.
Oh God.
One
Thank
thing he
you.
was the lead in that was
Thank
eating
you,
donuts.
Jeff.
In college, he was
Yeah.
one of the greatest college running backs of all time.
I'm pretty sure he won a Heisman too. I think.
Yeah, and then he went to the Giants, and his
Yeah,
career
and then he
was
went to the
over.
Giants. Yeah. Yep.
Well, that's more John Fossil's fault. Rest in peace to him.
Yeah.
Ben says hashtag on Wisconsin naturally.
What are we talking about Wisconsin for?
Ron Dane.
Oh.
Ron Dane, and then then he gets drafted.
Nothing
He
to
by
brag
the
might
about.
place anything from Wisconsin. You could talk about cheese, and he's going to be like, oh, Wisconsin.
Wow. Yeah. Green Bay always wins.
Well, also-
he's always got Green Bay winning.
But Jeff,
the Milwaukee Brewers.
Jeff, they have more cows than people in that state, so it's not surprising.
The Greek Freak
Yeah,
is the greatest player since sliced bread.
Dude, have you been to that? Have you been to that
Well,
state?
that's
No, I
Kareem
have not.
Abdul-Jabbar. I don't
What
know
a-
if that's true.
Dude, what a horrific
They
looking
shouldn't
group
make
of
that joke. They had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Thomas
What
Jones.
a horrific group of
There it is.
What a horrific looking group of people from Wisconsin are. What a bunch of mouth
I
breathers
knew the
that
Jets had
crew
somebody that
is.
was worth a damn.
An entire state and the best 5 looking people are all on Making a Murderer.
All right.
Well,
Carl-
we all know the most known murderer of them all, besides Ted Bundy, is from Wisconsin, and that is Jeffrey
Jeffrey
Dahmer.
all right.
I
Carl,
know my
Thomas
serial
Slummer.
killers.
That's right.
Carl brought up Thomas Jones.
So do I.
Thomas Jones in his career, 10,591 yards, 68 touchdowns, rushing in 180 games played. He actually played longer than I thought. I didn't realize he played all the way back to 2000. 2000 to 2011, 5 different teams, and receiving he had 23 yards, 91 touchdowns. So, but probably not him not
Who
being as
replaced
much.
Thomas Jones?
Who replaced him where?
Go with the
Chicago.
Jets.
With Chicago, Matt Forte.
Matt Forte.
Forte was pretty
He
freaking
was.
good, too.
He was very
Forte
good.
is a Hall of Famer.
Very good.
Matt Forte is a Hall of Famer.
Because he also was one of the.
Absolutely.
Bring up Matt Forte's numbers.
He was also-
I guarantee you Tiki's numbers are better.
Go look at his numbers.
Because Forte had good longevity, was also the best, at that time, the best pass catching back in the league.
Yep.
He had a couple 808 yards 1 year. Actually, no, there 547 yards. And that was a whole kind of transcendent thing at that time because it was only Marshall Falk,
I can't
Ladaidi,
see
and
the
Tomlinson.
freaking screen, but it looks like
97, 96 yards, 54 touchdowns. So rushing-wise, probably not as good as Tiki Barber. And receiving, I think, is close, too. So maybe not to the level of Tiki Barber, but pretty
Here's the
close.
thing. Tiki
But he had the
Barber,
longevity.
he didn't have the longevity. And that's the
But wouldn't
the
that
NFL.
help?
No.
Hey, I retired
The N-
early,
No,
and
'cause
I left in the prime.
The
My
NFL
prime.
looks at longevity. They look at that,
Yeah,
how
Barry
dominant
Sanders
you
left
are.
in his prime.
Carl
It didn't
says-
hurt him.
Yeah, but
Carl
Barry
says-
Sanders did 10 years straight of 1,000 or more yards, again, with one of the worst offensive lines
Go back
in
to
NFL history.
I'll never come
Okay.
here with a dead phone again.
Carl says Matt Forte has the record for most catches in a season. Yes, 102 catches in 2014. Yes.
great, yes.
Who
And
are we
that-
talking about?
Matt Forte in 2014, when he was 29 years old still, had the most catches in a season for a running back. Yes, very good pass catching back. Tiki Barber had 586 catches, 58. So he had more yards, but not as many catches, and 12 receiving touchdowns.
How
So
great is it
they're-
Cowboys are on this list?
They're very,
No
very
mention of
close.
Cowboys.
Well, if we were talking about the 90s, Emmitt Smith would be there.
And Tony Dorsett, too, going even back for even
Yeah,
further.
They would be there. I mean, Emmitt Smith, as much as I couldn't stand the Cowboys in the 90s, because I really couldn't stand them, Emmitt Smith was right there. I mean, he really was. But he also, with the teams that they had and the offensive line the Cowboys had.
That's arguably the greatest
me and you could have
guard
run
of all
behind
time.
him.
Yeah.
I mean,
that 6 years is pretty freaking good.
Think about that. Think about how crazy that is. That if you want to see a good Cowboys player, you need a VCR.
well, Dez Bryant was good. I mean,
Owens was great.
It wasn't a catch.
Well, I know it
Well,
wasn't
yeah,
a
of course.
catch.
But
That was a catch.
Cowboys fans still think
That
it
was a catch.
Dez Bryant at the top of his career for like 7-8 years with the Cowboys. He was damn good.
He was. The first 7 years of his
Was it
career,
7
probably.
years?
Seven
Yeah, 7
years.
years.
It might
09
have
to
been
16. But he really only fell off in Dak's first year because he had all those injury issues. And then that year after, the 2015, after
was
the
pretty damn
non-catch. He was. After the non-catch year, I think it might, I don't know, obviously it's 6 months, so it probably didn't directly carry over, but I'm sure that carried over a little bit mentally, him getting the call reversed on him. Yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. I didn't think it was a catch either.
Actually,
It was a catch.
Actually, when you look at his
That's a
number,
catch.
and Tyler, you might be right on this too. Dez Bryant, 4 out of the, from 2010 to 2017, because that's when he played at the top of his game. I would say 4 seasons where Dez Bryant really had great numbers. After that, 561 yards,
I don't know why.
928 yards, 401 yards, 796, 838. His best season was 1,320 yards, 16 touchdowns. That was a great season, by the way. I remember that.
Yeah.
15 yards per catch. And that was the year that catch with the Green Bay Packers,
Right.
which
Yeah, that's a catch.
Wasn't a catch.
it wasn't a catch.
That's a
Wasn't a
catch.
catch.
Still wasn't a catch.
It was not a catch.
Okay, you're all insane. He
Well-
caught the ball and moved over a defender. That's a move with a
Jeff,
football.
why did
and
you
then
not
put the ball
think,
down?
Why did
That's
you
a catch.
think it was a catch? Honestly.
Why did I not think it was a catch? Because
Yes.
it wasn't. Because he jumped in the air, came down with both feet down. That's great. Tripped over the thing, and then he tripped over the defender, and then didn't survive the ground. That ball hit the ground. He didn't survive the ground, which at the time was a rule. If you needed to survive the ground,
Right.
and he didn't.
And they changed the rule after that.
Yeah,
didn't
they made it a lot more lenient because of the whole controversy. It was him with Calvin Johnson. There was another Super Bowl, too. I think it was the Panthers-Broncos Super Bowl. There was another one like that.
Great, so let him catch it this year, and we can call it a catch. But at the time, still not a catch.
What team will he be playing for when he does it?
The Cowboys. Dak's got to win 3 in a row.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, my God, don't do that to me. Don't do that.
But this is supposed to be the third of the 3 Super Bowls in a row. Just remember.
Was it?
I mean, think about
Yep.
how dumb this kid is.
that take was 3 years
That
ago?
take was 2019
Jesus
on your show,
Christ.
2019 in August.
Well,
Dak Prescott's going to win 3
I'd
straight
have.
Super Bowls.
Well, read what the beef was saying, because the beef says it was a catch. He
I
made a
agree.
move and reached for more yards, you idiots.
But it wasn't a quote-unquote football move. That's when you
no,
decipher the catch and
hold
the
on.
fumble.
I never, ever will defend the Beeve. That was a catch.
But
He did not fall over a defender. He landed and put a foot over the defender and reached out with the ball.
But the
That's
same-
a move.
the same thing goes for the catch
But
and the
as you're
fumble.
going to the ground, right, but as you're going to the ground, you need possession and
Right.
need to survive the ground. Did he
And-
survive the ground?
No, he didn't.
He
It
had
No.
possession.
No,
He had possession.
but he didn't survive the ground, and he also wasn't already a football move, so you can't call it a catch and a fumble either once he lost it, once he bobbled it on the way down. So it wasn't a catch, and it was such a tight window because he caught it about the 2-yard line. He barely took any steps. He kind of just landed and kind of fell with it where it wasn't.
it
he
wasn't a
didn't survive it to the
touchdown,
ground.
but it was a catch.
I'll be honest. On live play, I thought it was exactly that. I thought initially it was a catch, and he was down at the 1-yard line. But also,
Carl says it was a
catch.
the replay showed exactly what Jeff was saying. He did not survive.
But
it
you
all the
don't
way to the ground.
understand. It's the referees.
But here's the other ironic part of that. Let's not forget the week before their playoff game against the Lions. Before the Rams got away with the pass interference, the Cowboys also got away with the pass interference against them too, where Anthony Hitchens clearly pushed off on Brandon Pettigrew and should have been a first down for the Lions. They would have been in field goal range with, I think, 2.5 minutes to go. I think Dallas only had one
Yeah.
timeout.
And
And
Stafford
they
was
called it,
cooking.
But you
quote
don't get
unquote,
it. It's the referees.
but they
Stafford
called
was
it face
cooking.
guarding, which, by the way, I've never heard that term since. Face guarding,
Or
they called
before.
it. And the Lions eventually had to punt, I believe
Did
it
that
was.
referee ever survive that?
I'm not sure who the referee was.
No, he
in
probably
that
got
game,
fired,
but-
I'd imagine.
But yeah, so all the Cowboy fans that complained about Dez Bryant not catching the ball, remember they got practically aided the first playoff game where Detroit was winning by 4 points. Eventually, so they could have gotten a field goal. They could have extended the lead to 7. They could have ran out more clock. They could have gotten a first down. Meanwhile, the Cowboys got the drive to win the game the next.
Now, what
drive.
call in any sport, actually in the NFL, that we've seen in the last 20 years that really stuck out to you that you completely disagree with?
It's not even close. It's not even close. There's only one. It's the most egregious thing that I've ever seen in sports anywhere. First of all, that's not a call. A Deflategate never happened. It wasn't real. It was proven in court.
But it could go either way.
That pass interference, that non-call or pass interference thing, the Rams Saints game is the most egregious thing I've ever seen in my life.
That was the game that really. Well, that was one of them. But is there any other things that happened in the last? No,
that's a pretty
20
big
years?
one because that screwed Drew Brees out of his second Super Bowl.
There was also one that I can remember. It was the Giants-Packers playoff game in 2011 that they called. I think they called an offensive pass interference or something like that on Hakeem. It was either Hakeem Nicks or Victor Cruz. I don't remember. It was a long pass that the Giants should have had like a 40-yard pass on it. They reverse it. They call it 4th down, and the Packers got the ball back. And granted, the Giants blew them out anyway, so it's not really a factor of the game. But at the time of the game, it was the second quarter. It was very close. They called it egregious one. I believe it was Hakeem Nicks.
I'll give you another egregious one that's actually unforgivable because it cost Tom Brady another Super Bowl. That Philly play was an illegal formation that they just ignored.
Right. They probably would have gotten a field goal, though, on that drive, too, so we don't know how the game would have ended up because they were a chip shot field goal range regardless. They lost by 8. So, but again, there's also 2-point conversions. There were other factors within that game.
Right, but there was other things. Right, there was other things going on because they lost by 8 because they got another field goal because of the Tom Brady the fumble at the end of the game. They sealed it, right?
So that's what I'm saying. We don't know how it would have ended up.
That game would have been with, and by the way, another touchdown. There was a Eagles receiver that landed out of bounds that they still called a touchdown.
Well, there was different replays that showed 2 different things. So I think that one was too tough to overturn in that one.
Well, that's fine, but how do you ignore an illegal formation?
I agree with that, but again, like I said, it probably.
Carl's saying that Calvin Johnson no touchdown catch.
Right, which was the first one of those big no catch controversies. Again,
this is the whole thing. That was another one of those didn't survive the ground things.
Right, that was the beginning of that whole phase where they really started nitpicking at that rule, and that's why the Dez Bryant one didn't get called the same way. You have to call it the same way. So that's why his wasn't a catch. Calvin Johnson was the first one, which was actually probably the most impressive non-catch, one of the more impressive non-catches you'll see. And Calvin Johnson,
but easily the worst one was the Saints one. That Rams Saints game. That's easily one of the most egregious things I've ever seen because they could have just kneed the football to run the clock down and kicked. Would that have even been a 25-yard field goal? They would have.
No, they were at the 2-yard line. They were at the 2-yard line. That play, there was one more before the 2-minute warning, too, and then the Rams had one timeout. So they could have stopped it twice, or they could have let him score, too. But if you let him score, then you have to score a touchdown rather than getting the field goal like they did.